What am I prepping next when it comes to food? There's a lot happening in the world right now, and there's certain areas of food you might want to focus on now because it's just going to get more and more expensive and harder to acquire. So in this video, let's talk about what I'm stockpiling next, and I want to give you a heads up as to what you might want to look out for as well. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're talking about what I'm preparing for next when it comes to food preps. There's a lot happening in the world, and I try to pay attention as to what's going on in certain market trends to get my focus a little bit more pointed towards whatever might be harder to get in the future. And there are some things happening right now that are kind of pushing me in a certain direction when it comes to what I'm doing with food preps. And I wanted to give everyone here a heads up as to what I'm going to start working on a little bit harder right now so that maybe you can actually get a head start and maybe even beat me to the punch. But either way, this community has done a really good job of coming together and giving each other information about how to get better prepared for what's happening here in 2021. And if you want to be part of this community, then hit the subscribe button below, because often we're trying to give each other tips and advice of how to get better prepared. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do right now. So Tyson Foods, one of the largest meat producers in the world, is coming out and saying that prices are having to go up. They're going to go up no matter what. And in fact, they can't raise prices fast enough to keep up with the rising costs of raw materials, labor, feed, supply chain issues, all the things that are actually compounding to make meat more and more expensive. So we know protein and meat is going to be harder and harder to get the longer you wait. So when it comes to prepping, what is it that I'm actually trying to get right now? Okay, well, first and foremost, we need food that lasts a long time. We want food that we don't have to worry about doing too much work for, and we want to make sure we get a good value and that our money's well spent on it. So what I'm going to be focusing on next is actually shelf-stable canned meats. Now, yes, you can can your own meats, and yes, you can also get freeze-dried meat, and you can also freeze-dry your own meats if you have the right equipment. But at the end of the day, the easiest thing to acquire and the easiest thing to store without having to have really any skill or too much thought process is going to be canned meats. And those canned meats were packaged and processed before a lot of this other meat price increases occurred. So what that means is that by getting those canned meats now, you're actually going to save money, because that meat that's in the can is probably worth more now than it was when it was originally canned. So you're getting yesterday's meats at today's prices or something like that, which sounds terrible, bad for marketing. But here's what I'm going to try to focus on, and this is what I want you guys to understand. Chicken is extremely expensive right now compared to what it has been in the past. And chicken, if you haven't been to the grocery store lately, isn't something you can just go buy a bunch of like you used to as being like poor people food, basically, right? Get your bag of frozen chicken breasts and call it a day, and you feel good about having some protein on the dinner table. That's something my family has done many, many times, and I'm sure you have as well. However, those bags are getting smaller but cost the same, aka shrinkflation. Those bags are getting harder to come by. And in fact, chicken breast that's just in a regular standard styrofoam pack is really expensive when you compare it to things like ground beef and you compare it to things like steak and pork and everything else that's out there in the meat counter. The chicken is no longer the cheapest option. And in fact, that's starting to concern me a little bit when I'm out doing grocery shopping. Chicken is definitely a good way to save some money and still get good protein in your diet, but maybe not so much anymore. So canned chicken specifically is what I'm going to be focusing on next, okay? Prices for chicken are soaring for all the reasons we stated above. The restaurant industry is coming back, and they are taking the lion's share of chicken off the shelf, especially when it comes to boneless chicken breast and chicken wings. And of course, those have gone up in price quite a bit, okay? And like I said, the labor costs and the shipping costs and the raw materials costs and the feed costs, right? Because we all know feed is actually being harder and harder to come by as well. All the grain and everything that goes into the feed is harder to acquire and more expensive, is all getting passed down the line to the final product of the chicken, okay? So, Magic Prepper, why do I need canned chicken? Why do I need canned meat? What's the big deal? Don't you have buckets full of rice and beans? Aren't we good to go in case of an apocalypse? Well, yes, but you do need protein, and you want to make sure you have high quality protein in order to insert into your diet. The reason you need protein, at the bare minimum concept, not too sciencey here anyway, is that you need protein to repair your cells and to build new cells. So do what you can now to make sure that protein can still be inserted into your diet even after some kind of an SHTF scenario, okay? So let's talk about the math. Why am I focusing on canned chicken specifically right now? Why am I trying to get this protein product now while it's still widely available, while it's still relatively inexpensive, and while it's still accessible for average people? And it's something that I want you guys to understand. I'm trying to give you a heads up because I haven't even started this little endeavor yet. I'm actually gonna go to the store the next time I get paid, and then I'm gonna buy a crap load of this chicken. So if you beat me to it, it's because you're doing a good job of listening and you're actually paying attention to what's happening in the world. So congratulations to you. But here's the deal with the math, okay? So we're gonna base this on Great Value canned chicken because that is basically the Walmart brand, and everyone has access to a Walmart for the most part, whereas not everyone can get to a Costco or a Sam's Club or whatever it might be. So let's talk about the Walmart chicken because for its price point, it's still a good deal. So Great Value Walmart canned chicken, I believe if you buy a 4-pack, gets you 15 cents per ounce, okay? And in a 4-pack, it's 50 ounces of chicken that you're buying at 15 cents an ounce, okay? So that comes out to being about $2.40 a pound, which right now the average cost of chicken breast, boneless and skinless, is almost $3.40 a pound. So you're saving a full $1 per pound off of what that boneless, skinless chicken breast is, which is basically what you're getting in the canned chicken. Of course, it's not chicken breast, but there's no bones or any waste that you have to deal with. So mostly what you're getting is actually just edible chicken that's ready to go. Yes, whole chickens are cheaper than the canned chicken in the sense of price per pound, but whole chickens have a lot more processing, a lot more waste, bones, and everything else that you have to deal with, and it might not actually give you the same amount at the end, and you're still gonna have to do a lot of work and put a lot of energy into actually preserving and stockpiling that chicken rather than just buying this canned good, okay? Now, something else you need to be aware of is that canned chicken can last 3 to 5 years. That's a pretty good amount of time on the shelf, which means that you have a lot of time to buy yourself in the sense of having protein that's shelf stable for the long term. But canned meats, as a general rule, have about 20% of their weight in water, right? Because they're stored in salt water or some kind of variety like that. And that 20% weight decrease, once you take all the water out of the equation, actually raises that price per pound. So that raises the price per pound to about $2.88 per pound, which is still cheaper than the average cost of chicken breast right now in the store per pound. So in a way, this canned chicken, which is fully edible, all the chicken in the can is edible, and yes, you take the water weight out and you're at $2.88 a pound, is still gonna get you more return than buying chicken right now on the shelf in styrofoam packs for boneless, skinless breast. Like I said, whole chicken's cheaper, but there's a lot more waste and a lot more work that goes into preserving that chicken and getting rid of all of the insides of that chicken, and then you actually do raise the cost of that per pound by doing so. So keep all that in mind. Now, here's what's going on. On their website right now, Walmart has already limited those 4 packs of canned chicken to 2 per customer. So that should at least give you some ideas as to what's going on out there. They're aware of their high quality, high value canned chicken situation, and they don't want you to be aware of it right this second. And if you are aware of it, they're gonna limit you to 2 4-packs per purchase through their website, which will be delivered right to you, which is actually pretty nice. But you're not limited to those within the store as of right now, or at least in my area you're not. Maybe your Walmart's different based on what's happening in your region, but as of right this second, those limitations are not in place. So spend the money now on things that are gonna last. They require the least amount of effort to maintain for a decent amount of time. 3 to 5 years is a pretty good amount of time in the sense of buying yourself that time to establish whatever else you need in the sense of regular protein. But you're actually saving money by buying this canned stuff instead of the fresh stuff at this point. And that's where we're at. And when it comes to preparation, the canned stuff is actually better in the sense of being able to store it. So that's what I'm focusing on now because the limit's already in place on the website. The canned stuff is actually cheaper than the fresh stuff. And we're getting to the point where now you can actually do yourself a favor and get ahead of the curve by purchasing as much as you can in this second. Right now, in this window that we have of opportunity to acquire these proteins that we need for our balanced diet and to maintain some kind of physicality during a stressful SHTF scenario. So, what are you gonna do with this information? That's up to you. But my suggestion is get out there and buy up some canned chicken and buy up some other canned meats as well. Meat as a whole industry is going to change forever after this whole situation. The prices are never gonna go back to before all this. Things are gonna keep rising in price and getting harder and harder to find. And with all the things that are happening around the world, especially with these droughts and these other disasters that are occurring, you can expect anything agriculture related to be higher in demand and lower in supply. So get ahead of the game. Yes, can you go out and buy fresh meats and store it yourself and preserve it yourself, utilizing methods like jarring or freeze drying or canning or whatever else you want to call it? Of course you can. But you'll actually spend more money at this point by doing that than just by buying the pre-canned stuff that already exists out there. Remember, folks, yesterday's meats at today's prices. Nah, I'm still not getting it. But this is my suggestion, and this is exactly what I'm going to be spending some money on here in the very near future. And instead of waiting till I bought a crap load of this stuff and then put it all here on the workbench and wanted to show you all of my amazingly awesome chicken that I just saved a crap load of money on, I figured I already have this plan in action. I might as well share with you all, because you know what? At the worst, you beat me to it. I have other food stored away. It's not going to ruin my day, but it will show me and it will teach me that there's more and more people out there that are listening and trying to get prepared ahead of time instead of waiting till the last minute. And that in itself will actually make me very happy. So, wanted to bring this to your attention. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to go out and binge buy a bunch of canned meat, because it's not the worst idea right now. And if you have any other suggestions about things that you should focus on right now, especially in the sense of food preps, tell us in the comments. Let the community know what's going on. You ever need anything from me? magicprepper.com. And that is going to be it for Magic Prep.